The summit, Team Food Sovereignty and Food Security in an Era of Renewed Hope, brought together senior government officials from 36 states, including the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, as well as development partners in the agriculture sector. The participants collaborated to address the challenges facing the industry and develop strategies for achieving food security in Nigeria. Minister Abubakar Kyari believes that achieving food sufficiency is crucial for national development.
This week began with technical sessions held on Monday and Tuesday, providing a rich platform for sharing knowledge and experiences on overcoming climate variability, increasing agricultural productivity, expanding livelihood opportunities, and widening wealth creation across the country. Our discussion also focused on ensuring farmers' safety, managing agricultural landscapes, improving rural infrastructure, intensifying research and innovation, and expanding agri-businesses nationwide. Building on these frameworks and guided by the vision of His Excellency President Bola Ahmed Tinubu GCFR, food sovereignty has become the driving momentum of our agricultural transformation, ensuring that our food security is built on local capacity, national ownership, and inclusive growth. It is therefore fitting that this year's theme, Food Sovereignty and Food Security, an Era of Renewed Hope, aligns directly with this vision. Food sovereignty speaks to our control over what we grow, how we grow it, and how we consume it. Food security, in turn, ensures that every household has access to safe, affordable, and nutritious food. Together, they define the pathway toward an inclusive and resilient agricultural system that leaves no one behind.
The other one is for us to look at integrated soil crop systems, management, and integrated disease and pest management system as far as our crop are concerned. And you will recall, Your Excellency, that ginger is one of Kaduna State's top crop. And when the ginger infection was noticed, the federal government, through the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security, and your government, worked tirelessly to see that we are able to reverse that fortune. We are not yet out of the woods because the devastation was much, but efforts to bring in pest and disease-free, planting materials is underway, and I'm sure in no distant time we'll be able to restore back the glory of ginger production in Kaduna State. Is the fact that we realize the beginning of agriculture is soils. And to that extent, the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security has also launched the Farmers Soil Health Scheme, which is designed to help farmers understand the nature of their soil, the type of fertilization they should have, which will help them to reduce costs while enhancing their productivity. Now, you also recall that for food security and food sovereignty, you must take advantage of every available space to produce.
The governor of Kaduna State, Ubasani, pledged to support this initiative in the realization of President Bola Tinubu's 8-point agenda for economic stability in the country.
Mechanization is advancing steadily. More than 200 tractors have been deployed through public-private partnerships, increasing efficiency, reducing drudgery. Hundreds of kilometers of feeder roads have been constructed, connecting farms to market, aggregation centers, and processing hubs, reducing post-harvest losses and creating new corridors of rural prosperity. To secure the future of this transformation, we are implementing 2 flagship projects: the Special Agro-Industrial Processing Zone, developed in partnership with African Development Bank and the federal government, will anchor large-scale agro-processing and logistics for maize, soybeans, ginger, and tomatoes. Complementing this is the Agricultural Quality Assurance Center, designed to ensure our produce meets international standards, unlocking access to regional and global markets under the African Continental Free Trade Area. These initiatives are not just about production, they are about positioning Kaduna and Nigeria as competitive players in the global agricultural economy.
Development partners, including Action Aid Nigeria, have urged the government at all levels to create consistent policies that will encourage farmers and businesses to generate profits in the agricultural sector.
What the challenges are and what we need to do going forward. And as Action Aid Nigeria, what we have also done is to conduct a political economy analysis for the agriculture sector, looking at how agriculture investment results to states' increase internally generated revenue. And we presented this at this council also to help the commissioners, the directors, and the state governments, and even the federal ministry to ensure that a lot of money is put in the agriculture sector, not just about allocation but expenditure, because also the new Kampala Declaration is focused on 10%, at least 10% expenditure in the agriculture sector and not allocation. And that analysis we did, we had also indicated the key areas for such an investment. So there are different narratives. In some cases, farmers are also saying that prices have come down, that the borders have been opened and prices have come down, and they are not recovering what they have spent in planting. There is another narrative that prices are still high, so it depends on what and where and the context. But one thing that Nigeria needs is we need to tackle our very high post-harvest losses, and we are hoping that the new program by the Federal Ministry of Agriculture on post-harvest losses will also help cushion that, because if as a country we are having close to 40 to 50% post-harvest losses, which is estimated to be about 3.5 trillion annually, it means that we have a lot of work to do to reduce our post-harvest losses. If we reduce our post-harvest losses, it means that more food will be available. It means that farmers' incomes will also be saved. The post-harvest losses, if you take the 3.5 trillion naira and you divide it equally across the states, it's about 94.5 billion per state. So it means that a lot of investments need to go into those areas. Another issue is that there needs to be a guaranteed minimum price for farmers, whereby during harvest, at least there is price stability with a certain amount, but a proper analysis has to be done so that farmers are making profit and not losing. Because in our current context, because of the low capital releases in the agriculture sector, you can find out that in some cases and in some states, it is actually only the farmers' effort we are seeing and not government support. So a lot needs to be done. And we are having those conversations, and we are getting a lot of commitment from stakeholders and state governments that they are actually going to make sure that they put more resources in the agriculture sector. So we will continue. This conversation is just one part of it, because we will still be having other conversations going forward in different fora to further make sure that our food sovereignty and food security is achieved. And even as Action Aid Nigeria, one of the things that we got last year in terms of approval was there was an approval by the council, by the 46th council last year, that as a country we need to develop a national strategy on agroecology, and we're already working on a draft, and first week of December, by God's grace, we'll be having a national validation on that national strategy on agroecology, because agroecology is an opportunity for us to be able to also produce our food sustainably, because it will reduce high cost of external inputs and also help us reduce the challenges of highly hazardous pesticides, supporting food safety and nutrition.
So for farmers to be successful in growing tomatoes, and as you all know, tomato is a very important part of Nigerian diet culturally, and even across West Africa, to the point of the previous speaker, you know, as Nigeria looks to be a leader in the region. The reason I think that farmers are struggling is because farmers are not competitive. We have to help and support farmers to be competitive, which means we have to understand what is the farmer paying for when they are farming on their land. And I think if we look at that, they pay for seed, they pay for fertilizer. If it's a dry season crop, they're paying for irrigation. They may or may not pay for tractor services. Sometimes they use oxen, sometimes they use their own hands to make their beds, sometimes they use a tractor. They are paying for labor. They are paying for chemicals to provide a clean environment for their fields. So where can we make an impact? We can make those things easier for them to access. We can make those things cheaper for them to access. And we can make the markets more readily close hand and available and less erratic for them to be able to make a sale. My message to the federal government, to those who are here, and we discussed this yesterday as well, is really around fertilizer and making fertilizer more broadly available. If you look at the stats, typically the price of a bag of maize is equal to the price of a bag of fertilizer. But right now the price of a bag of fertilizer is about double the price of a bag of maize. Now, I understand that we need to feed the nation, but I think that we need to sort of look at how can we help to bring fertilizer prices down in the commercial market as well as through government schemes. The government schemes are great, but I think if we can find a way to make it more accessible and cheaper, we will be competitive in the region.
Some development partners suggested that if governments invest significantly in agriculture, it could eradicate poverty and create employment opportunities, thereby contributing to national development. Frontline News.